This cannot be happening. I cannot be defeated by just an ordinary woman bending down to urinate. Fiakwa. Once upon a time in a small village called Odumodu, nestled between a thick groves of iroko and palm trees in the heart of the fertile land. Odumodu was no ordinary village. It was a kingdom wrapped in ancient custom, bound by ancestral laws older than memory itself. At dawn, when the first golden rays of sunlight speed over the clay rooftops, the women of Odumodu emerged from their mud-walled compounds, clothed in brighter colored wrappers, tied firmly around their chests, and their bell shoulders gleamed in the morning light, adorned with coral beads and brass bangles that kindled softly as they walked. The men, broad-shouldered and proud, wore wrappers around their waists alone, leaving their chests uncovered, a symbol of masculinity and strength. Their bodies bore tribal marks etched by generational past. Each scar carries stories of lineage, war, and honor. The air in Odumodu smelled of roasted yam, wood smoke, wet earth, and the sweet fragrance of flowering orange trees. Children raced barefoot through narrow dusty paths. Elders gathered under the great Odala tree in the village square, where judgments were passed and legends were told. And above them all stood the royal palace, a magnificent structure of polished red clay, carved elephant tongues and raffia canopies. It was there that Princess Olachi lived, and it was there that destiny began to shift. Princess Olachi was unlike any woman in the village had ever known. She was tall, taller than every woman in Odumodu, and taller than nearly every man. Her shoulders were regal, her back straight as a pear shaft, and her eyes burned with the fierce certainty of somebody born to command. But what made Olachi more unforgettable was her hair. Her braids were legendary, braided from childhood and never cut. Her thick black hair stretching in one magnificent plait down her back, reaching below her knees like a dark serpent woven with beads of ivory and brows. During festival, maidens spent hours decorating it with cowries and scarlet ribbons. Some say her strength lived in that braid. Others whisper that the gods themselves had touched her head at birth. She had grown under the stem tutelage of her father, King Obiora. He had no sons. Rather than teaching her embroidery and quiet obedience, he taught her governance, combat, hunting, and wrestling. By 16, she could pin 3 grown men in the wrestling arena. By 20, she had defeated the palace guard in ceremonial combat. Yet the elders worried. A princess was meant to marry. A princess was meant to bear heirs. But Olachi had no interest in being given away like woven clothes in bride exchange. She wanted something greater. She wanted power earned. When King Obiora died during the festive season, the village fell into mourning. Ghost wind blew across Odumodu like ghostly veils. Fire burned low. Drums were silent. For 7 days and nights, mourners filled the palace courtyard in white mourning clothes. Then came the 8th day, the day succession must be declared. The elders assembled under the sacred silk cotton tree. Chief among them was Eda Nnanna, whose beard was white as ash and whose voice carried the weight of law. The throne cannot remain empty, he proclaimed. Odumodu must have a king. The crowd murmured. Everyone expected Olachi to marry off quickly to a chosen noble warrior who would ascend the throne. Instead, Princess Olachi stepped forward wearing crimson warrior clothes, brows armlets, and her immense braid wrapped like a royal sash around one shoulder. Her voice rang like iron striking stone. Hear me, people of Odumodu. Silence swallowed the square. I will marry only the man who can defeat me in wrestling. Gasps spread through the crowd. What is she talking about? Why would she make such decision? Oluama raised her chin higher. Whosoever defeated me shall be my husband and the next king of Odumodu. The silence shattered into a roar. Men shouted in excitement. Women exchanged stunned glances. Never in the history of Odumodu has such a challenge been declared. And so the contest was set. At the far end of the village, near the river where fishermen repaired nets, a young woman named Ada ran breathlessly through the reeds. She was laughing and panting at once. Ada Dike. Her older brother Dike stood knee-deep in water washing mud from his wrestling legs. Dike was surprised. His arms were like calf-tree trunks, his chest wide and scarred from years in the wrestling ring. He was known as the strongest wrestler in Odumodu, undefeated among men. He turned sharply. What is it? Ada doubled over, catching breath. The princess, Princess Olachi, she had challenged every man in Odumodu. Whoever defeats her will marry her and become king. For one heartbeat, Dike stared. Then he exploded into laughter. Who does she think she is to make such declaration? He leaned from the river bank and began dancing wildly in the sun. Did you hear that? Ancestors, he roared. The crown calls my name. He pounded his chest. Who is the strongest than I? No woman, not even Olachi, is stronger than Dike. Ada laughed nervously. But deep inside her, unease stirred, because she had seen Olachi wrestle before, and Olachi was no ordinary woman. The wrestling arena was prepared in the center of Odumodu under blazing dry season sun. The earth was softened and racked smoked. Palm wine flowed, talking drums thunder. The villagers crowded every edge of the arena, pressing shoulders to shoulders in anticipation. Men from every quarter entered to challenge Olachi. One after another they fell. Some lasted minutes, some only seconds. She threw them with terrifying grace. Her massive braid whipped behind her like a battle standard as she moved. Each defeat deepened the village astonishment. Then came Dike. The crowd shouted in happiness. Children climbed trees for better view. Women covered mouths in suspense. Dike entered bell-chested, gleamed with palm oil, muscle taut like stretched rope. He stamped into the ring and pointed at Olachi. You are strong, he said loudly, but today you will meet your master. Olachi smiled coldly. We shall see then. The drums began. Boom, boom, boom. Dike launched first with explosive force. The impact shook doors into the air. He swung the right leg to the right, and he also swung the left leg to the left, standing firmly on the ground. For long minutes, they growled fiercely, locking arms, straining shoulders to shoulders like battle bulls. Dike pushed, Olachi resisted. Vein purged in his face. Sweat streamed down both borders. The crowd screamed encouragement. Dike, you can do it. Show her that you are the strongest in Odumodu. At one moment, Dike nearly lifted her. At another, Olachi twisted free and nearly threw him. The battle stretched longer than any before. Then came the turning point. Dike charged recklessly, overconfident. Olachi pivoted, her foot hooked his ankle. With a roll like thunder, she seized his arm, turned her hips, and lured him over her shoulder. Dike crashed into the earth flat on his back. The arena froze. Everyone was shocked. Dust rose around his fallen body. The referee Eda struck his staff against the ground. Victory to Olachi! Victory to Olachi! Victory to Olachi! The village erupted in stunned cries. Dike, the strongest man, had fallen. By the laws of her own declaration, no man remained who can claim her hand. No husband, no male king. And so Eda Nnanna rose before the people and declared, since none can defeat Princess Olachi, She alone is strongest, let her rule. Though Olachi became not queen, but King Olachi, the first female king in Odumodu. A crown of hammered brows was placed upon her braided head. The drum beat, not wedding music, but coronation thunder. Women wept with pride, men lowered their eyes. A new age had begun. From that day onward, whenever King Olachi walked through Odumodu, the villagers bowed deeply. Women bowed with admiration, children bowed with wonder, but the men bowed with shame, especially Dike. Whenever he saw her pass, his own proud shoulders bent low, his eyes fixed on the doors. Mockery followed him. The mighty wrestler has fought to a woman. His pride wintered. The mighty wrestler has fell to a woman. His pride withered. He stopped dancing. Stopped laughing, stopped entering contest. Ada watched her brother fade into silence and feared bitterness would consume him. Though Olachi wore the crown, kingship brought loneliness. At night, she stood atop parlor walls, looking over moonlight huts, wearing distant drums and wondering, was strength enough to win hearts? She had conquered every man, but in doing so, she had wounded the pride of half her kingdom. Fields grew neglected as men withdrew from communal labor. Tension spread through Odumodu like cracks in dry earth. Power had made her a ruler, but ruling required more than victory. It required healing. One stormy evening, lightning struck the western forest, igniting wildfires. Flame raced towards Odumodu. Panic spread. Men hesitated in confusion, but Dike rose. For the first time since defeated, he took command. He railed villagers, organized water lines, led team, cutting fire break stretches. All night he fought flames with relentless courage. By dawn, the fire was stopped. Odumodu was saved. King Olachi watched from the palace range, humbled. That day she summoned Dike. In the royal courtyard, she faced him alone. "You saved Odumodu," she said. Dike bowed stiffly. "You defeated me once," he answered, "but the villagers still needed my help." Olachi nodded slowly. "And I needed to learn that strength is not only in conquest." For the first time since the arena, they look at each other not as rivals, but as equal shaped by pride and pain. She appointed Dike commander of the village defense. The people rejoiced. Shame began to lift. Years passed. Under King Olachi reign, Odumodu prospered. Harvest doubled. Trade routes expanded. Women gained voices in council. Men and women trained together in wrestling festival. And every year, during the festival of braids, a grand march was held, not to humiliate, but to celebrate courage. King Olachi never married. She ruled wisely and long. And beside her stood Dike, not as husband, not as defeated rival, but as trusted guardian and friend. Their story became legend. Elders told children, true greatness is not in defeating others, but in lifting a people together. And so in Odumodu, under the red hills and ancient tree, the braided crown endured not as symbol of dominance, but of balance, strength, and courage to change tradition. Even now, when moonlight spill over forgotten village paths and drum echo through distant forests, elders say if you listen carefully, you will still hear the storm of Olachi feet in the wrestling ring, and the sound of a proud man learning how to rise after falling. For that is the heart of every human story. Not victory, not defeated, but what we become after birth. A woman can wear a crown on her head and be a great leader, leading a big nation to an unpredictable world. Thank you very much for watching Tales by Grandma. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more